This podcast contains potentially adult language, adult themes, definitely drinking, and possibly sexual context. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Drinking with Authors, the podcast. I'm your host, Erica Lance. Our sponsor today is Skunk Brothers Spirits. DWA10 is the coupon code. If you go on their website, absolutely amazing stuff. My co-host today is the amazing and eerie, I get to say eerie, Mark Muncy.
Yes. Just got back from a huge convention, MegaCon, and had a grand time, but I am so excited about today's guests.
Yes. So our guest our guest today.
We've been booth buddies at cons. Come on, man.
I have to get through the intros for
sorry.
buddies,
already derailed the show.
Doesn't work. There's a whole show. We're not supposed to have been drinking yet, but I have. So our guest today is Robert Dixon. So woo! Okay, let's talk about what we're drinking real quick so people can drink along.
Yep.
Responsibly in their homes and not while driving. I found this Angry Orchard and I absolutely love it. It's Angry Orchard unfiltered, so it's not as sweet, so I can drink more of them because I get about 3 into Angry Orchard and then I'm like in sugar rush high and I can't drink more than that. Mark, what are you drinking today?
Since I am on my epilepsy meds and recovering from MegaCon, I have been drinking out of my coffee thermos Coffee Shop of Horrors Caramel Scream with I've been putting a little hint of lemon in it for my throat. So, and that's good brew. Oh my gosh. I made it a cold brew and I've never done that with one of the Coffee Shop of Horrors, but the Caramel Scream, bam, that's gold.
I swear. I mean, Coffee Shop of Horrors is amazing, but if they don't start at least sending me free coffee when you're on the show, I'm telling you, I'm gonna have words with them because so many people are like, I heard about Coffee Shop of Horrors on your show. I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if they actually sponsored?
Well, let's save them. They're having some financial difficulties thanks to supply chain issues and stuff. So go to coffeeshopofhorrors.com, order a bunch of stuff so that way they can sponsor us.
Yes, please. They have the most amazing different flavored coffees and it comes in waves. So you want to get in there and you want to pay attention to them so you can get those coffees. Yeah. Okay, Robert, you're smoking your cigar, but what are you drinking?
I am drinking Corona tonight. My fridge died and my red ale I was going to enjoy kind of got warm. So we'll stand by here. And everybody's going around, Robert, this is so official. Everybody calls you Bob. They don't know what to do.
Well, I could call you Bob. Would you like me to call you Bob?
Call you anything I like for dinner.
I'm sure those were words, but through the cigar, they just were like vowels.
I say, call me anything but late for dinner.
Yeah. I spoke cigar. I understood that. So that was good.
Yeah. Well, and the cigar tonight is a Caldwell, in case anybody's interested in the cigars.
Yeah.
Ooh, very cool.
Do you smoke cigars?
So,
I used to, not anymore. But
now Mark is limited now in his awesome ability to party like a rock star, although he does pull it off well.
I pretend well. So yes.
Okay, so Bob, not late for dinner. Can you tell the listening audience what you write?
Well, mainly I'm just a hacker. My latest thing I'm working on, I've been doing adult humor book. I did the first one back in 2016 as a joke. I really never expected more than like 6 people to buy the book. It's called Snafu Fubar, and the premise of it is adult humor, and it's definitely bathroom humor, not for those easily offended. And I put the first book out, and it really did really well for us. And the premises are 2 drunk superheroes with absolutely no superpowers whatsoever. And the idea of going on patrol is sitting in the back porch, drinking beer, smoking cigars, and just talking junk to each other all night. And we actually just released the 3rd book. I was going to release it in 2020, and something happened. I forget.
This weird thing.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Something happened.
We all just woke up in 2021 and went, "Wow!" So so that was the thing.
Yeah, I mean, so 2020 was just a rough year. Well, the last 2 years have been rough for a lot of people. I know a lot of people put books out. I personally did not feel it was the right thing to do. because a lot of people were losing jobs, and I just didn't feel it was right to ask people for money when they needed to take care of necessities.
Very.
I don't fault anybody who did that, but just not my thing, you know.
So there are 3 books. So Snafu Fubar is the first one. What's the second one?
Well, they're all Snafu Fubar. The first one's called Nothing Heroic. The second one's called Soberphobics, and the last one's called Morning Wood. I'm glad you like that because it actually, the name of the book actually had me uninvited to a book signing recently.
Yes, I read about that.
Oh,
my gosh.
do tell.
Okay, so I do a free comic book day like a lot of us do because this book's actually aimed at comic book fans. And I have a store in Knoxville. I'm not going to say that because me and the store owner have a really good relationship, and this is not a knock on him in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Okay, so I want to make sure that's perfectly clear.
Yep.
And so I posted I was going to be releasing the book up there, and some of his customers got offended by the name. They said it was just very offensive, and so he decided what was in his best interest store was not to have me up. Which, you know, it's his store, and I respect his decision. I guess the only thing I think was kind of funny is these same people are okay with the pictures of like the half-naked girls with nipples showing on the covers, but they weren't okay with the name Morning Wood, which makes me question if I changed the name, if I changed Snafu Fubar to a female character and called it, I'm thinking like, I don't know, Wet Wednesday or something, they'd probably be okay with it.
If it's the bookstore that I think you're thinking about, we're not going to name it on this show, is to not call him out. He had a problem with my book, My Home on Whore Island.
This is a comic book store, so it was not a bookstore.
Okay, then no. Wait, what? What?
Yes.
What the fuck?
Yes.
A comic book store?
Yep.
Yes.
Cave
And
to
so-
censorship.
And like I said, I respect his decision. He has to do what's best for his store. I have no problem with that.
Now, to be fair, Free Comic Book Day does bring in kids because of the free comics. So I can kind of see that, maybe not tied to that, but it's an awesome day. I mean, and a lot of comic shops, well, they were giving away adult comics and other stuff too. So
Well, that's the thing. It is what it is. But you know what? My thing is I know I'm putting out adult product. I don't sell to anybody under 18. If somebody under 18 wants to buy it, then mom and dad has to come buy it from me. So I mean, I take precautions for it. But you know, honestly, you know, it is what it is. That's just the way life goes sometimes, and you roll with the punches. You know.
No, that's. I don't know. I almost feel like that should be a t-shirt. I got disinvited to a comic book store.
Well.
How the crap sticks does that happen?
Yeah. So well, that's not as fun. My banner, which I know Mark's seen my banner, has got a picture of Snafu on there. If anybody's not seen my banner, go to my Facebook page. It's on there. My banner has, you know, well, actually it's the same as my tattoo. Anyways, when I got my banner in, I'm like, this isn't my banner. And so I unroll it. It's a banner for a church's Easter egg hunt. And I'm like, so I called the sign company. I'm like, so they're like, I got the wrong banner. They're like, okay, well, we'll fix that for you. No problem. So by chance, did they get my banner? And they go like, yeah, why? I go, well, can you pull my banner up? She pulls up. She goes, oh my, that's not good. So I'm pretty sure one more reason I'm probably going to hell.
You know, just add it to the list, right? Just add it to the list.
check.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
You know, here we are.
So what made you, I know you wrote it as a joke and you kind of put it up there and you thought like it's, you know, I wouldn't say wrote it as a joke, but I know you didn't think people would take you seriously on writing this, but what made you decide to write it to begin with?
Just being creative and having some fun. I've got a couple of young adult books out, and you know, like every author, I mean, you know, Mark's known for his Erie stuff, and that's great. And by the way, Mark, I need to pick up Erie, Florida, and Erie, Appalachia, sidetrack. But anyways, you know,
Thanks for the plug.
I think every author out there has stories they want to tell, whether they want to publish or not, beside the point. I know for me, creatively, Snafu I created over 30 years ago for a comic book, believe it or not. I just never did put them out anywhere. And I, like I said, I really, you know, I did it. It was fun. And the first show I do, I'm like, maybe some people buy it, but it'll be fun just to have on the table, no big deal. And it became my best-selling book. I mean, it outsells my other books 7-8 to 1. So, here we are editing book 4 this summer.
Wow. So when you wrote it, you obviously didn't necessarily think of it as a series, correct?
Oh God, I didn't think of it past book 1. I figured people use it for bonfires. And
so when that happened and you were like, oh crap, people actually like this, how was that process of going, now I have to come up with another one?
Yeah, I'm like, now I got to do this. Well, it really wasn't. I mean, because I've always the market will dictate what sells. You don't get to tell the fans what they like and what they don't like. I mean, you can have one of the best novels in the world, and it may not sell 3 copies because people may just not buy it. It doesn't change the fact that it's good writing or bad writing. Snafu is definitely a little niche that not a lot of people do. A few years back, I was in Daytona, I think it was, and I ended up at a book event, and 90% of the authors were romance authors. And I'm like, okay, this weekend's gonna be a wash, but I'm just gonna try and make some connections and be nice to people and all that. And I was selling book for book with the romance authors.
Yeah.
And I think it was the sexy guy on the cover, because Snafu is pretty sexy sitting on that cake with brawn.
That I'm sure he caters to some. Yeah, check out the cover. I mean, you guys might be just lured in by all that in a bag of chips.
I gotta say, I picked it up because Bob is probably one of the best salesmen I've ever met at a convention. So just throwing that out there, he knows how to sell books. So, and he drew me in right off the bat.
Well, I think it's interesting you say that, because when we talk about writing and everything like that, to your point, Bob, that you said about you can make the greatest novel ever written, but if you don't know how to get it into the hands of readers, it doesn't matter that you wrote the greatest novel ever written in the world. You have to know how to sell, especially at live events.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, if you were a big publisher and they got a marketing firm and all you gotta do is show up and sign books, God bless you. That has to be a great experience. But I'm sure Mark will attest to this, that when you're an independent writer author and you're doing a lot of this stuff yourself, you can't get behind the table and be shy. My fact, last event Mark and I did together, which was in March, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I did a panel, and there's 5 of us on the panel, and the one guy had drawn Buffy in the comics, so I mean he was well seasoned a panelist. The other 3 did not seem like they had a lot of experience talking to the crowd, and they weren't sure what to say, and sometimes. And you get there and talk to them like we're talking now. Just talk to them like you're talking one-on-one. And thing is, you're not going to lose any sales at a panel. You're going to make sales, because if they don't like you, they're not going to change their mind about you. They may change mind like you, but not going to not like you more at a panel. So I have fun at the panels. I have fun at the table. If you buy a book, great. I mean, if you don't, I don't know how Mark approaches shows like that, or how you do when you do shows. I know for me, I go in with the idea that I'm gonna have fun. At the end of the day, I'm going to have fun.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to make some connections. I'm gonna try to sell some books. We'll see how it goes. But if you go in with the idea that you're always gonna have fun, then that's half the battle there, because you're going to be, if you do a 3-day show, you're dead tired by Sunday, usually about halfway through Saturday. And you still need to be the same lovable. Are we censoring this, or is it censored?
No, it's what you want to say.
It's a fucking adult podcast. Like,
okay, I try to be the same lovable asshole Friday that I am on Sunday.
So when did
he pulls
you
it
start?
Off well?
Yeah. When did you start writing?
Kindergarten.
Very cool.
That's good.
I learned my alphabet. It took me a while. Okay, first grade. I'm not gonna lie, I never did get in kindergarten. I actually started writing probably my freshman year in college. I actually went. This for all the people out there going, "Wow, he's a fat ass now." I actually went to college on a track scholarship, and then I messed up my knees and ankle, and I started writing poetry, and then I wanted to write comic books, and so I sent off an idea to Marvel Comics, and they politely sent me a nice little letter, says we don't accept unsolicited ideas, so have a nice day. And I started my own comic book company. I did that for a number of years, and we did pretty well. We would put out 5,000 books a month, and then the comic market the distributors got bought out by Marvel and DC, the main distributors, which screwed a lot of independence. And then I had young kids at the time, so I decided to be a father for a few years. And then I woke up one day and decided I want to write a novel, and I figured it can't be that hard to do, and so I did.
Okay, I love that statement. For those listening out there going, I can't finish my book. And like, I woke up, I was like, I'm gonna write a novel. I got a bagel, it was awesome. I wrote a novel, it was fine.
Well, I don't believe, but bear in mind, I'm one of the people, I don't believe in writer's block. I think it's an excuse. If you may not write well at the time, and that's fine, because not everything you write is going to be gold. But to sit down and say, well, I can't write, go to the mall, watch people, and write what you see. It's, everything you write is not going to be good. That's why you have an editing process. I don't edit as I go. Well, my wife will tell you I don't edit at all. But mainly she does my editing, and she hates me. That'd be the leading cause of divorce among people who've been married 30 years, is who having to edit my books. But I've actually taken the writing on my cell phone, and I've written the past 10 or 12. I also went to a novella format, which I like better, for a couple of reasons. One, I can tell a story quicker and more condensed, and just kind of deal with what I want to, and not have to add the fluff that goes into a novel, because there is a lot of fluff in a novel. But the other thing is I can put the book out a lot cheaper. I can sell it for cheaper, and the profit margin is greater.
No, that makes sense. I think, I actually have, been, this last month, I've been doing weekly classes on writing. And one of the things I always say to people is, I'm firmly convinced now writer's block is you put yourself into a corner, and you need to go back to where the writing was going well and turn left or right, because wherever you headed was the wrong direction. You hit a dead end. And you're not going to get out of that dead end. You need to go back and find where to start again, or jump ahead and go to the next thing and keep writing and come back to it, if whatever you're writing is so valuable that you need it. But most of the time it's, you wrote yourself into a dead end, and it's hard to go past it.
Yeah, that's a very good description of it. I just recently finished a historical fiction I started in 2010. Because the research was just so intense, and part of it was I was scared to get it wrong, because I want the story to be a certain feel to it, and that's the other thing. I think authors get scared of getting it wrong, so they don't write anything.
No, I agree. Or they just don't have the diligence, meaning they're not writing every day. You got to write every day, even if it's for 20 minutes. You got to write every day, because if you don't have that, habit.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. Not every author does that, but if you're really trying to write and you haven't written in blood, just write every fucking day. Just sit down 20 minutes, write every single day.
I think I'll start doing that.
Well, you might actually get some books published, Bob. Just kidding.
Well, here's the funny thing. Books waiting on editing right now. Okay, I have a 7 novella set that's complete. Snafu book. I know I've got at least 10 books right now waiting on editing, which my wife's gonna get to this summer. Not all of them, of course, but one of them is my first mystery book. It's adult humor fantasy mystery called "Killing the Holiday Spirits."
Ooh.
And the theory is somebody's going around killing the mythicals that represent the different holidays.
I like it. So what was the first book, not comic book, but actual novel you ever published?
Mouch and Company, The Dream Psychic, which was actually based off one of my comic books. And that was about a teenager with schizophrenia and psychic abilities, so his imaginary friends were real.
Oh, wow.
His best friend's a shadow and a sock puppet.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I enjoyed the young adult market. Like I said, and like I said, I really enjoy writing the young adult stuff. It's just like I said, when you're looking at sales numbers, you got to go what's selling. It doesn't matter what, at the end of the day, as much as everybody tell you, oh, I'm doing this because I love it, you better be making some money at it, because otherwise you won't be doing it long.
True. Very true. I
I mean,
agree.
unless you just have, a wealth of income, a dispensable income that you can go to shows and not worry about making the money back. And, I lost $600 this weekend. Who cares? Like MegaCon. MegaCon table ran what, 400 mark, I think, somewhere there.
That, yeah.
Okay, let's say $400. Hotel that let's say you got a cheap hotel for $100 a night. So
Very
you're looking
familiar.
you're looking at $700 without food and travel to do MegaCon. And if you drive over there with today's gas price, you're looking at about $1,400. But I mean, so you're looking at $700 doing an event out of town, unless you got friends you can stay with or whatever, and that's a lot of books to sell.
Yep.
And you might take a loss on a show like that, and that's okay, but you can't afford to just do those kind of shows and take losses, because it's great because you may get the one book in the hands of the one person who could change your life. Probably not, though.
No, it's true. It's true. It's funny enough, me and Mark were just discussing that. I mean, it's honestly authors who are doing conventions and shows, you should do a little spreadsheet and figure out what your profit margin is, how many books you need to sell, and is that real to you to sell that many books? Some people can go there and sell 200 books, no problem. They can do it. They do it easily. Mark, whatever. There's a certain amount that can do that. But if you're on average 100 books, know how much your profit is from selling 100 books, because otherwise you have to have a goal, and it can't be an unreal goal.
No, and that's exactly, I was just at, like we just said, MegaCon, and it was one of those huge conventions. 150,000 people are coming to that con on a Saturday. And so, all right, think about that logistics. There's 150,000 people coming into your con. So, oh, wow, I'm going to sell 100,000 copies of my book. No, maybe most of them are coming to see the big name, Nathan Fillion, Brendan Fraser, the Hobbits, whatever. So maybe 40,000 might actually buy stuff in the vending place. And then of that, how many of that are actually going to get into Artist Alley and into your table? And how many of those are actually people who might even be remotely interested in your product? And then of those, how many of them actually have the money to buy your product after they've paid for parking, paid for their own hotel, paid for their ticket to get in, and paid for that Nathan Fillion autograph or their picture with the Undertaker? And so, you look at that, and then you're like, okay, realistically, I can get this much. And that's what you really got to budget down to. So, and I honestly, I didn't start doing really well at MegaCon until the third book hit, so.
Well,
I think also the more books you have in a series out, I think it tells people, okay, this series is doing pretty well, and it's going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
So I think that helps. We'll find out.
In any marketing, so another irony. I was just talking about this. Bookie Call does phenomenal press for books. It does. You have to pay to get on their thing, but they do phenomenal press. But what was really interesting is the books that have more than 5 books in the series or from the author in the same kind of genre absolutely do amazing, right? And you can see this on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all this other stuff. You can see it. The books that only have 1 or 2, not that there isn't an increase in sales, but you don't see that maintaining. Like you might see a spike, but it doesn't then level itself out. And I think because of how publishing companies and or authors have gone about doing series, meaning publishing companies unheard of are just dropping people mid-series.
Yeah.
Like Melinda Snodgrass talks about this, where she had I think it's her Bard series. I might be saying that wrong. Melinda, I love you. But they did 2 of 3. They had her 3rd book, but they just decided not to publish it. And it took her like 7 or 8 years to get these books back from them. And so, of course, her fans are like, what the crap? Where is the book? And they don't realize the publishing company just pulled the plug on it. And so you get a little jaded. I know a lot of people who read now that go, I don't want to read unless it's a complete series.
Yeah. Well, I know book 4 Snafu is going to be book 4 in the trilogy.
I like that you have book 4 in the trilogy. Are you planning on a book 5 in the trilogy?
Believe it or not, that would be what I'm writing. I mean, I want Snafu to kind of be an ongoing series. I really don't have any number in mind. I mean, the problem I have with Snafu is it kind of writes itself because I listen to news, I see people talk, and it's like, oh yeah, I could totally ad lib on this. So Snafu has unlimited ideas as far as just because people do stuff that you just kind of shake your head at. And so it's fun to ad lib with that. You know, I do have plans right now to maybe work on Snafu 5 over the summer ish, because I'm trying to decide. This is the first time in my life I actually, and I say life for a long time, because I always had the historical fiction count on the back burner, that I actually don't have a book started, which is kind of odd for me. But I have a week left of school. I'm not in school, I'm a teacher. And so I'm actually going to work on that this summer.
That's a very, very cool. Okay, we have to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Drinking with Authors.
Sample locally sourced, quality distilled spirits in the beautiful Columbia River Gorge. At Skunk Brothers Distillery, we're family owned, brewing small batch grain to bottle spirits, just like our grandfather did back in the Prohibition era. From handcrafted bourbons and moonshine to flavored blends and cordials infused with local fruit. Join us for a tasting tour and buy Skunk Brothers spirits straight from the source.
It's all in the family at Skunk Brothers Spirits, located in Stevenson, Washington.
Okay, we're back. We're back. Okay,
Are
so
we?
I have no fucking idea most of the time. I'm just here.
This is actually my front.
We're front. We're front. So what is it like interacting with fans on? You're obviously a very social creature. Not all authors are social creatures when interacting with other humans, right? What is it like for you interacting with fans on Snafu versus your other books?
Most of the time it's pretty good. They can't on the back of the book. It's also if you get offended easy, you put this book down and run because it's not the book for you. And most of the time they kind of laugh, and that tells me if they're going to be into the book or not. I've had like one of the funniest ones in Daytona again. I had a father come over me, picks up, oh, this is great. It's got to be love. Johnny will love this. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm about to get so, you know. And he calls his wife. He goes, you think this will be on his reading list? I'm like, how old is Johnny? 7. I'm like, no. Johnny would not love it. And like book 3 has it has the offended thing that says basically this book's the same shit, different book. So it has that kind of humor. So basically people can kind of tell off that basically about when they walk on and look at the covers, because the covers are you've seen the covers online, I'm sure. They're kind of out there in front. They're in front of you. So we've had really good response. Every now and then you get people you can tell they kind of, oh God, you know, what kind of garbage you putting out, you know. And like I said, you know, I don't stress about that. I mean, as long as they're polite, if they're rude, I just say, look, if it's not for you, don't waste my time, yours, you know, because I'm cool. You're not buying it. I'm cool. That's not what you buy. I get that. I don't read romance just because that's not what I read. It doesn't mean I don't respect romance authors. Good God, no, they're making money hand over fist.
No, that's true. What about
know,
online? What about reviews and stuff? Because I know sometimes when you have books that have a certain degree of humor and stuff like that, like a different kind of content, you can end up with very different reviews.
Most of Snafu reviews have actually been 5-star.
Good.
Yeah.
So I think it helps when people know what they're getting ahead of time. And that's why I put in the description about the offended easy. I don't hide the fact that this is you know, adult humor, and it's going to go. I give my wife's my co-author on the book. Okay, I give Lynn a lot of credit because what she does is after I write all this stuff, and that's why I call myself a hacker. She goes through and first of all and puts things. You know this thing called punctuation. I never heard of it before I met her, and she puts this punctuation and stuff in there, and then she goes through and cleans it up and asked me about 9,000 times, what did you mean to say here? Because this is not saying anything logical at all. And she rewrites it and all that. And but there's a line you go to where it's funny. If you go any farther, it becomes very offensive. And although we deal with offensive humor, there's still a line you cannot cross without being in bad taste. And the best example, do you remember the movie Liar Liar?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. on the advertisement for Lie Lie, he's in the scene where he's in the elevator. He doesn't know he can't lie yet.
Yeah.
The girl goes, everybody in the apartment's been real nice to me. He goes, that's because you have big boobs, and she slaps the hell out of it. But in the movie, and that was funny, but in the movie, he goes on like 4 or 5 other things. It kind of becomes, oh God, just quit. It wasn't as funny. And so when you write, and somebody asked me one time, when am I going to write my serious stuff? I'm like, well, one, when it sells as good as my humor stuff, but writing humor is very hard to do. It's not just, easy to do. And to make, if you're a stand-up comedian, you got to have a certain timing and all that. But when you're writing humor like this, I mean, it's basically you're looking for punchlines every 2 or 3 paragraphs, if not more. And that's hard to do. And a lot of people don't understand that when they look at humor books as far as the seriousness of the writing game,
I picked up one of your books at a con, and I remember just on the way home, I started giggling out loud in the car, and I had to read it to everyone in the car, because like, what are you reading? What are you reading? I'm like, oh, this is Bob's book. It's hysterical. And then I had to give them context. And next thing you know, I'm reading like a whole chapter of it, for them, and they were enthralled, and everybody's just dying in laughter. And that's when I was like, all right, this guy's got it. He knows how to do humor well. So,
well, I look at myself every morning in the mirror, and it doesn't get much funnier than this. So I figure, here we go.
See, right there.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head about something too, because I feel this way. Like, I stopped watching the Oscars, I don't even know how many fucking years ago, because I realized, having done acting and done stage acting, where you get that immediate response, like you do film acting or commercials or whatever fucking stuff, you don't know until you're sitting at a screening whether it landed, right? Like, generally, if it's a good crew, especially, sometimes you can get them to snicker, but they're generally being serious and, doing lighting or holding fucking microphones. But you don't realize how hard comedy is, whether it's writing it or presenting it. Like, you can absolutely fail at landing a joke, or to your point, like, there's some great Saturday Night Live to me, but some of it does exactly what you said, where it's like, you've gone too far past where this is funny, right? It's not funny anymore. It's just offensive or dumb.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And like I said, Lynn's really good. I'll give her all props to that, as far as making Snafu a more acceptable book to the masses. Because I remember when she was going through the first one, she had not read anything by it, so I was doing it. And she goes, "This is really good." And I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute." She goes, "No, I'm serious." And so I was like, okay, we might have something here, because the fact that she has a very keen sense of humor. She has a great sense of humor, but not as out there as mine. Because I have this really bizarre, as she always tells me, I'll say something, she goes, I love you, but you're a strange guy. And I made a spit. Yes. I'm like, mission accomplished. And you got to time that right when you see somebody about to take a drink. You got.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you for that.
Bob. Well played.
We wonder if she was a spitter or not. Now we know.
You gotta watch the YouTube version. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't miss that. But oh my gosh. So Bob, you did a comic book background before this.
Yes.
What do you feel the differences are between writing for comics versus writing for the novels?
A one-night commitment opposed to a 6-month commitment. But I remember I could write comic books, and I could just sit down and pull all night and write a couple of comic books, and it'd be fine. But Snafu usually takes me about 3 months. So I think that's one thing. I think also the crowd in the one of the reasons I want to put Snafu is I want to get more into the comic book crowd and that mentality. I think they're more accepting of independence than they are independent authors. I love the comic book crowd as general, and plus I got some bookstores I love those too. Don't get me wrong, but the comic book crowd is just a different crowd. It's more welcoming. They're more willing to try something they've never heard of before. They will follow you and they will promote you. When I was doing comic books, we did every comic show. We did Heroes Con, we did MotorCon, we did Dragon Con, we did, if it was, I got to be good friends, as far as, circuit friends, with Marty Nodell, who was the creator of the original Green Lantern. And he was just a sweetheart. He was just as nice as he could be, him and his wife. And they were just as nice as they could be. And it's kind of, and the thing is, and that's one aspect, you kind of got the people you hit on shows like me, Amanda, and a few others that, you kind of get to know along the way. And, everybody just kind of promotes each other and kind of helps each other get shows and all that. Because, I mean, that's, I get kick out people who think it's competition because, me and you, for example, are not competition. First of all, we don't always sell the same genre. But secondly, either they got the money to go buy both books, or they could be interested in one or the other, or they're not going to care either way. And so that's why I always tell people, I said, hey, if you got any stuff out, post it, let me know. I'll be happy to share it. I mean, I put, because I'm not losing sales by promoting the other writers. I got a lot of friends who are writers, they're good writers, and hopefully if they get a break, they'll help me out, and if I get a break, I'm gonna help them out,
100%. And that's same with any social media and all that. It's like, just share each other's stuff. What does it cost? It cost you a click. Yeah. Stuff like that. So,
but there's some people. I remember I did a show up in Evansville, and they did show for a couple of years. It's a great show. I wish I still did it. But anyways, we had a bunch of authors who had kind of similar mindsets as me, and we were all kind of, if somebody's out table, we kind of direct them to the other tables. And this one guy was like trying to call people away from our tables while we were talking to him. And I'm like, hey, I don't know how long you've been doing this. I said, but that's really kind of bad protocol. You really don't do that. He's like, well, I'm trying to make sales. And his thing was, he told people, he goes, I want you to buy my book. And I'm like, well, the advice I'm going to give you at being in the business for almost 30 years is that's not the sales pitch you use. Hey, would you like to read the book? Because the only way they can read it is to buy it or steal it. But when you say buy, it puts a pressure on people. When you say, I want you to read my book, they kind of take a different approach on it. But that's, going back to dealing with fans.
Yeah, no, I think that it's interesting that you say that because I think we all need to help each other, because also you don't have enough content. Like, even if somebody went through and hit buy on every single book you have, right? Mm-hmm. That reader will run out of content before you can keep up writing to them. Generally, they will run out of content. And if you don't create sort of a network of other authors to have them into the fold of the group, then you're doing a disservice to yourself as well. I was talking to an author the other day on this podcast, and they said their next book was coming out like 3 years after your first one. And during the break, I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? You're going to wait 3 years to put another book out? Like, you're going to lose every single reader you have if you wait 3 years. You're not George R.R. Martin. I don't know what the hell you think you're doing. Because people will forget. In 3 years, people will forget.
Yep. Yeah. Well, the mentality is, I kind of link it back to like the Harry Potter books, because those were about 2 or 3 years apart. But the thing is, though, is you had a book that's selling millions of copies, and everybody was anticipating, which means you could build the readership more and more as you went. And let's face it, I mean, like I said, Snafu 3 would have been out in 2020, but COVID hit. I couldn't do shows, and I could have sold online. Apparently, a lot of people did sell online, did really well. I just made a decision based on my beliefs that I shouldn't be asking people for money. Yep. And it's not, and like I say, anybody who did that, I applaud you. You did good. God bless you. I'm happy for you.
We skipped a year because my books involve a lot of traveling and research and interviewing and stuff like that. So I had to skip a year too. And I thought that was going to kill us. And I think if we'd skipped another year, we'd have been dead. So yeah.
Well, and that's something like when I put the thing on Facebook about what happened with my signing in Knoxville. I had X amount of orders that would have been the equivalent of what I would have made at the show.
Oh, yeah.
And I was very thankful that people come out and supported that. I had to make a few trips to the post office, but I was okay with that. You talk about buying so many books. I got one of my fans and Facebook friends who I got to be friends with the last few years. She has 4 bookcases full of, I think they're all independent writers. Because she literally buys, and she came to the con we was at a few months ago, and she texted me after. She goes, I forgot to get books. I need to get one copy of everything. I was like, hey,
I think that's fantastic. I mean, you never know who you're going to find as somebody that you love as an author. It's easy to stick with certain people or think that the big names are going to market, but I don't think most people realize that most publishing companies only market this top kind of 1% of their authors, you know, and they have all of these authors that are kind of left alone to market themselves out there.
Yep.
And if there's independence, there's book shows. It's also kind of neat because I think one of the things I think is cool is when you get to go meet the author and make him sign books. Like I love that. I have Snafu, Bob. I don't know if you remember, but I used to work with Wordier than now, and I had an open mic night with you, and I bought the first Snafu, and that was back when it first came out a million years ago. I have it.
Yeah, well, I remember the open mic night because that was downtown with Tiffany's group, and that was when I said, "Does anybody get offended?" And nobody raised a hand. I started reading, and the lady got up and walked out.
Yes,
I'm like,
that's
I'm sure she's
exactly
going to order
when
books
it was.
online.
Yeah.
No,
So,
and
Gold.
I think that's, you know, it's I've had people get up and walk out of my readings too, mainly because they just can't handle the gore. I had a guy a couple of days ago who I work with in my day job right now, which luckily is going to not be my day job. But anyway, he came up to me and he bought one of my short story collections, and he goes, "You start the book with the suicide?" And I was like, "It's called Illusions of Happiness. What did you think the book was going to be about? Like, it's got a girl with an axe on the cover. Like, what did you think was going to happen?" And he's like, "Well played, well played." And he's like, after that, he's like, "I read the story. I had to go read it again. And then he was like, and then I was hooked." But, you know, if they get offended, they're not your reader. They're not your
It's
reader.
not for them. You know, then they can go read a cozy mystery
well, that's the thing.
or a romance.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think Mark, you and our team ought to do a romance together.
We could do that.
Not me and you, but we should write one.
Oh yeah, I know. We'll have to talk. To
I was
Wyatt
about to
the other
say,
day.
is there love in the air? No, just kidding.
We can call it. We can call the book. We can kind of name it after ourselves. We can call it Skid Mark.
There we go.
I'll tell you a funny story. Jeff Strand, I'm sure you both know Jeff Strand, but anyway, he'll be down here later this year, but he wrote a romance novel. I don't know if you guys know that. It's called Kumquat.
Nice.
The funny thing though is he put it out under his horror name, which he writes humorous horror, right? And so his readers, it gets released, buy it thinking like it's another Jeff Strand novel, and we're like, what the fuck is this?
Yep.
Well, I think that's what a lot of people miss out on. You know, like you'll have actors play roles for serious or comedy or love interest or romantic comedies or horror or whatever, and nobody blinks an eye. But if a writer steps out one genre, they go, "Oh my God!" It's like, no, you know, you can write different things. I mean, the 7 novellas I was saying about is actually a very serious thing. Deals with a lot of social issue. It has humor in it, but it's more life humor opposed to just outlandish humor. And you know, like I said, you know, people write what they enjoy writing, and that's one of the advantages of being an independent author opposed to working for a publishing house. You know, I mean, J.K. Rowling's a good example. I mean, she wrote Harry Potter, everybody loved it, and then she wrote under a pen name, and the book barely sold. Yeah. And then it got leaked out, and she was furious, and then the book sales went through the roof. But it's the finicky, it's the finicky crowd. And, you know, like, you know, Mark's known for the eerie stuff, but I'm sure there's other stuff that in his creative mind that, you know, if he dove into, he could market in the right way.
Well, that's
no, I think you can. I think there are certain genres, like if you're writing, you know, young adult books, you can't go so far into like, you know, rapey horror story without having people who are, you know, because you allow your kids to go, okay, I'm going to read J.K. Rowling, right? And then, you know, if she went into something like that or erotica or something like that, I totally get it when it's completely divergent from the fan base that can exist. Well, I also, you know, Stephen King did the same thing with the, you know, like the kind of westerns and, you know.
Well, and it's you look at now some of the romance authors who write mysteries, you know, it's like, you know, Nora Roberts is J.D. Robb, but it says Nora Roberts writing as JD Robb because they know the fans will do it, but that's how they get away with it. So
Well, and I think there's certain genres you can like. I'm in the middle of Jonathan Mayberry's high fantasy series that he's decided to release called
suddenly out of the
Kagan,
blue. Yeah.
Kagan the Dam. Fucking amazing book. I actually really love Jonathan Mayberry's writing, but fucking amazing high fantasy book. But Charles Gannon did that too. He went sci-fi, high fantasy. Like, I think you can do that. I just think they're, humorous horror books and then cutesy romance. His fans were a little like, the writing's good, but what the fuck is happening? That's literally the response he got, because they all assumed it was a horror book. And he was like, hindsight, maybe. I'm like, maybe.
So the next Snafu Fubar is he goes to Washington and it's a political thriller.
Actually, I was thinking maybe he starts investigating paranormal activity. I'm gonna call it Eerie Snafu because
There
that
you
name's
go.
not copyrighted
There you
yet.
go. I'm all behind that. I give you full permission.
Can you imagine Snafu investigating anything?
Yeah. Well,
The investigation.
well, in book 4, not tell too much about it because it's not even out yet. I actually have a visiting superhero from New York named Clark, who sits down with him and he learns a new way of patrolling the city.
Nice.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. It is shameless self-promotion time, Bob. What is your next books coming out? What and when?
Well, like I said, we just released Snafu 3 Morningwood. So this summer we're gonna work on Snafu 4 and the Killing the Holiday Spirits. Hopefully have those out in the fall. There will not be a 3-year delay in those. And then the other thing is my 1 7 novella set. It's either 7 novella or 3 novels, depending on how I put them together. I'm actually going to pitch that to a traditional publisher because it might be the best thing I've ever read in my life.
Very nice.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
The premise of that is a priest at the gates of hell taking final confessions.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Okay. How do people find you on social media and stuff? And if they want your books, how do they find you?
Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter should be all under author Bob Dixon. I'm also on the VERO by the same name. I got to give a shout out to VERO. It's a new social media, but my buddy runs it. So I got to kind of give him promotion, hope we get some people to VERO. I'm on Snapchat, but I'm not really sure why.
Now you got to be a talker. Now you got to be a TikToker. Snapchat's out, TikTok's in.
Yep.
Well, Mark sends me some good pictures though.
It doesn't surprise me. If you friend request Mark Muncy on social media, you can get some really interesting shit coming your way.
All right.
You get a lot of weird followers. That's true. And they all have tinfoil hats and they all have pictures of Loch Ness Monster I want to show you. And I always refuse those. So
sometimes.
Bob, it has been thoroughly awesome having you on this podcast. Thank you for joining us tonight.
I love being on here. It's fun.
Very cool. Okay, so guys, this has been Drinking with Authors. I've been your host, Erica Lance. My co-host today has been
Mark Muncy from EerieFlorida.com and EerieTravels.com.
And you have a new book out.
Yes, Erie Appalachia comes out June 20th from History Press, available at fine bookstores and Cracker Barrels everywhere.
At Cracker Barrels and Sam's Clubs everywhere.
Yeah.
And our guest
I've done some
today,
fun signings.
yes, has been the incredibly humorous and amazing Bob Dixon. And our sponsor has been Skunk Brothers Spirits. DWA10 is the coupon code. And we will see you guys next time.